Hello, 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 everyone. It's so good to see you. I see some folks are still hopping on. Welcome. It is great to have you join us for another edition of our Lead, Grow, and Deepen Diversity series. My name is Lauren Jen. I'm the program manager for food experiences at ISS Guggenheimer, and I am your lucky host for today's Asian Pacific American Heritage Month edition of Lead, Grow, Deepen. Please find that chat box on the right side of your screen. Head on over there, say hello to myself, say hello to your fellow team members who are joining in. Tell us where you're calling in from today. We also encourage you to utilize that chat box throughout the session. We would love to hear any comments or questions you have throughout. So again, don't be shy. Please pop into the chat box where you are joining from and say hello to all of your fellow team members who are signing on as well. At ISS Guggenheimer, our diversity, equity, and inclusion culture is made up of 3 pillars: lead, grow, and deepen. The goal of this diversity series is to help us become an organization that leads with inclusion, which unlocks the power of diversity so that we can deepen our user and community partnerships. Now, with that being said, if there are specific topics that you are interested in learning more about, or speakers, culinarians, authors, change makers in the food space that you are interested in hearing from, please let us know. We're always looking for your suggestions. This month, I am thrilled to welcome Chef Jaydel Reyes out of Sacramento, California. Chef Jaydel has experience in fine dining and large-scale food service in both the entertainment and corporate sectors. Throughout this segment, you can look forward to learning about Chef Jaydel's culinary journey, the trending Filipino food movement out at one of California's premier sports and entertainment arenas, and how Chef Jaydel was even able to start a small business during the height of the pandemic. Please, everyone, head on over to that chat box and join me in welcoming Chef Jaydel Reyes. Chef Jaydel, welcome. We're so excited to have you on.
It's exciting to be on here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So before we dive in too deep, I kind of want to get a little bit of a background sneak peek into how exactly you started your career in the food service, food industry. So did you always know that you wanted a career in food? How did that start?
So as a child, my parents, they were the cooks of the family. My dad was a Navy chef. My mom cooked at home, and, I got the cooking bug, I want to say when I was 7 or 8 years old.
Yep.
My mom would prep, she would prep all the food to cook, and then she would go to work and leave me and my brother at home. And then I would call her, and then she would give me like the instructions on how to cook like all these Filipino dishes. So I was learning how to cook Filipino food at a really young age. Like, she didn't trust me with a knife then, but she trusted me with fire. So I don't know where that goes. But yeah, I started learning how to cook Filipino food at a really young age. And I feel like, when kids were watching, cartoons on Saturday morning, I was actually watching, back then, there was a show called Cooking at the Academy, which was a show that the California Culinary Academy put on, or Cooking Secrets of the CIA, Great Chefs, Great Cities, all these like classic like cooking shows. That's what I was watching as a kid. I wanted to be a chef, but as a child of an immigrant, that wasn't the path, that they wanted me to choose. It was like, go be an engineer, a doctor, a nurse, all those different things, So I actually went to school to be as a computer science major. I was, So I was a computer science major. I was at Cal State Hayward for like 2.5 years, just going through the motions of like, I wasn't even in computer science classes because my grades in high school weren't that great. So I was taking all these remedial classes, just pretty much I felt like I was just passing the time. And then, but during high school, we had, I had a culinary careers class. I was like I was probably one of the first students in the culinary careers program at my high school. And we took field trips to the Culinary Academy, to Mission College, couple of other culinary programs that it really sparked an interest in me. But, that voice in my head from my parents saying, go do this instead. I did that instead. And then, but eventually I kept telling my mom, I was like, I want to go to culinary school. I want to go to culinary school. But then I ended up joining the Air Force, and, because I dropped out of college and then I joined the Air Force. But while I was in boot camp, my mom enrolled me at the Culinary Academy, the California Culinary Academy in San Francisco. And she like sent me my acceptance letter when I was in boot camp. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to culinary school. So
that's so awesome. So it looks like we're crediting your mom from a young age, teaching you how to cook Filipino food because she had left it at home for you to prepare. And then apparently she applied for culinary school for you.
Pretty much, like as much as they wanted me to follow, the other direction, be it, engineer or, what have you. My mom, of course, being my mom, she really wanted us to do what we loved. She still, to this day, she wants us to do, what we love. And, I guess I credit her for that. But like, the watching my dad cook church events, we're cooking, he's cooking for like 200-300 people. And I was like his little sous chef. And, I had fun doing it then, but I think I had to, I took it by the horns and like did it my way after that. Yeah.
Totally. So what is it? It sounds like you grew up around food, but what is it like? You've been in the food industry for a while now. So why do you continue to stay? Like what drives you to stay in this industry?
I feel like I'm kind of old now, so it's like I can't start over. But at the same time, dude, I love what I do. I was in fine dining in my past life, but once I found I guess corporate dining per se, I felt like we could. I mean, just the trends that we're seeing in the food industry. When I was at Google, the things that we're able to do, as far as like cafeteria food, it's cool to be a part of that movement,
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just cafeteria food, right? Like you're really able to innovate, play with the menu and serve, dishes that you wouldn't expect to get in maybe a cafeteria type setting.
Yeah. I mean, we ran when I was working at the cafe in Mountain View where every 3 Wednesdays we would do the brisket, and we would do what 500-600 pounds of brisket, and there'd be lines for an hour and a half, and we'd serve 1,500 people out of a cafe that's built for 150.
Yep.
And that was probably one of the cool things I got to do over there.
So I mentioned at the beginning of this chat that, May is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and we're always super excited to celebrate these campaigns. So I've personally seen a lot of really fun themed menus to celebrate. I'm sure you have as well. But one thing that's unique about your menu is that you're able to feature, Filipino inspired dishes year round on your menu, right? How can you tell us a little bit about those dishes and kind of how you were able to launch them and keep them exciting for the guests?
So when I started my position, there was a stand, a concession stand that had these rotisseries just not cooking anything. So previously they were cooking porchetta. The stand is called Porchetta House. So essentially porchetta is what the Italian version of lechon, I'm going to say, So I said, what are we using these for? And they said, we were using it for porchetta, but now we're kind of trying to figure out what we're going to do with it next. So I was like, we're doing this. So I put lechon or bellychon, which is essentially the same idea of lechon, which is the whole roasted pig, but we're just taking the belly and we're roasting it and we're marinating it, flavoring it the same way as we would a whole pig. So then we started doing that and we started putting it on fries. So I did a loaded lechon, actually tater tots. That's what it was. It was loaded lechon tater tots. But this season it was loaded lechon fries, and I changed up the flavors just a little bit, but I didn't stray too far away from the original. But yeah, once we put that on the menu, I feel like we don't need to ask. We don't need to ask permission to be able to do those kind of things.
Sure.
It's just as chefs, we just got to put it out there and hope that the people like it,
Yeah, I pulled some photos just so that I could make everyone really hungry and give them a glimpse into the food that you are making. And I pulled some photos. So can you tell us what are we seeing on the screen right now?
All right. So top left, those are the lechon sisig fries. So sisig. So we'll make the lechon and then I'll turn it into sisig. So sisig is your bar food. If you go to the Philippines, you go to a bar, you're gonna order sisig. In the Philippines, traditionally they'll make it with pig face parts, ears, nose, cheeks. But here we just use pork belly. It's chopped up, sautéed with onions, garlic, ginger, chilies, seasoned with soy sauce, calamansi juice, which is Filipino citrus fruit. Loaded on top of the fries. We have a sambal crema on top with pickled daikon, carrots, house pickled Fresno chilies, and island pico de gallo. So pico de gallo, but
that's it. Come on.
There's a lot going on because pork belly super fatty. So we got a little bit sweet, a little bit of sour. It all cuts the fat. So yeah, that's the fries. On the bottom, that is the ube pandesal hot chicken sandwich that came out this season. House-made ube pandesal, which you're not going to see anywhere in the NBA. Nobody's baking, fresh pandesal. But we use organic Mary's chicken, tossed in honey sriracha, and then we top it with the same pickled veggies. And then I think that tweet up there on the right, somebody posted, they said whoever invented that sandwich deserves a statue outside the Golden One Center. So I'm waiting for my statue.
Yeah, when's the statue gonna come? I mean, so okay, I think that's one sort of reaction to this food. Can you tell us like other reactions you've seen from people? I mean, we don't usually get to see like Filipino staples at concession stands, right? Like that's huge for me. What has everyone been saying?
Um, it's something new. It's something different. It helps that I'm Filipino. Our pastry chef's Filipino. Our GM's Filipino, and we're all proud. We're all proud of
Yeah.
our culture, and to be able to to just share our culture with the NBA. It's we have 15,000 to 17,000 fans at any given game, and to be able to just offer this food as if it's just not a cultural night, it's just
Mhm.
like, wow, it's just there, you know.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
that
definitely something I want to see pick up as not a trend anymore, right? Like just something that's normal that I can enjoy these regional cuisines any time of the year, not just, seeing a special menu during a specific month or something like that. I think that's really exciting.
yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us, like, what are some strategies that you use? I know that you said, many team members on your team are Filipino, but I'm sure you've been on teams where that hasn't been the case, right? Like, how can you continue to educate your team or your guests about these different regional flavors year round?
I think so. As chefs, we just follow. We like to follow trends, and but also as chefs, we can cook other cultures' food,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like keeping it authentic, I think that's where where there's work that needs to be done,
Sure.
because I have a problem even cooking Mexican food or cooking Italian food and wondering if it's authentic enough.
Yeah.
We have an Indian stand, and I have a Indian coworker, and I'll ask him. I was like, "Does this taste like an Indian cooked it, or does it taste like a Filipino cooked it?" You know, but as long as it's good,
Yeah.
and as long as we try and keep the authenticity there,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, 100%. And you're echoing one of our other guests who joined us, I think last year, Adrian Miller, the soul food scholar. And I said, can I cook beyond my culture? And he said, absolutely. But you need to A, do it well, and then B, give credit where credit's due, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So, okay, talk to us a little bit more about the Filipino flavors. I know you mentioned like the sisig, you mentioned the pandesal, calamansi. What are some other, popular Filipino dishes that you think would work really well in maybe corporate food service or large scale dining?
I think, well, our food it's sour, it's salty, and sometimes bitter. Um, I think the issue with our food that I don't get why people say our food is like not pretty, but like you can look at other ethnic foods and it looks just the same. But I think you know to when I was cooking for thousands of people, chicken adobo,
Mm-hmm.
that's a staple in the Filipino culture. That's a real easy dish to be able to serve in a large establishment. Also, we have a lot of dishes that can work well on a carving station. You can roast a bunch of pork bellies and have those on a carving station. Roast a whole bunch of whole chickens with chicken inasal flavoring and carve those at a carving station. I still have colleagues, friends that are still there in the Google world, and I see that they're doing a lot of things like those now. So it's really awesome to see.
Nice, nice. Would you say that, those sort of like sour, bitter flavor profiles can be like a little bit polarizing to somebody who's new to trying Filipino food? And if yes, like what are some ways that we can still get them excited, or how can we balance that flavor for them?
I think it's just a matter of of like trying,
Yeah.
because it's I I bring up a point where on Anthony Bourdain's show, no reservations. He went to the Philippines and he was eating a dish, and the guy that he was eating it with was like giving him like the worst explanation that you could think of as to what it was.
Right.
It was a soup. It was a goat soup, and he was just like, "Oh, it's so bitter. They use this, they use that." He was, naming all these like all the wrong things to try and make our food like like what's the word I'm looking for?
Appetizing,
but not
appealing. Yeah.
Yeah, like not appealing. Like, why would you say those things? Because when Anthony Bourdain actually ate it, he was like, "This is good." Like, why would you say those things about it?
Yeah.
So I think, we just tell it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's sour, it's sweet, it's savory, all these things, but it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to. When they think of our food, or even when Filipinos think of our own food, we can't describe it in these ways that are not appetizing.
Sure. And I think, that's something that every chef, every culinarian needs to also remember, is that it doesn't matter what menu you're writing. Like, you need to step foot into the seat of the guest, right? And think, if I was a guest, is this something that would be exciting or attractive on a menu to me?
Yeah.
So I have a couple more questions for you. I want to pause though. I know we have some different viewers and we have some folks in conference rooms. Please remember, if you have questions for Chef Jaydel, we would love to hear from you. Please post them into the chat box. And I have a couple minutes saved at the end to ask your questions to Chef Jaydel. But Chef, during the pandemic, you kind of had a little mini small business adventure, right? Can you tell me a little bit about all the pandesals that you were making?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm sure everybody that has social media has figured out how to bake sourdough bread.
That's true. That's true.
Because that's all I saw. During the pandemic, everybody was baking sourdough. Everybody was complaining about not having flour or yeast or whatever available to them. And I just asked myself. I said, where are the Filipinos at? Like, we have our own bread. How come when I'm scrolling through my feed, I'm not seeing anybody baking pandesal, which is, our Filipino staple of bread. So I went online, I looked up a recipe, and I baked it. And I was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. And then I baked it again, and I baked it again, and I just started giving it away to just whoever wanted bread. I just gave it away. Of course, my mom, she's like my worst critic. And I asked her, I said, "What do you think?" And she actually told me that it tasted like it came from, one of the Filipino bakeries. So I was like, all right, so you think people will pay for this, right? And then you never know until you jump in. So what's funny is I actually got a Facebook memory today. I actually launched the bakery today, 2 years ago. It was kind of cool. So yeah, I just went on the Instagram, and my bakery's name, I named it after my 3 daughters. It's called Canolu's, Caroline, Nora, Lucy. We got a logo made. I went on Instagram on Friday night. I said, for all your pandesal needs, DM us. And then I woke up Saturday morning and we had 20 dozen in our inbox. And I was like, and we were doing this out of my home kitchen, with an oven that could only fit, 4 dozen at a time. So that was the first day. And then social media just took off, word of mouth. And because everybody was stuck at home, I was delivering all around the Sacramento area, Elk Grove, Roseville. So everybody was getting fresh pandesal delivered, to their doorstep. This was
Wow.
at the height of the pandemic when everything was closed.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just doing regular pandesal, just regular plain bread and ube. And then I started saying, all right, we got to come up with something new. So Starbucks, I love their lemon loaf, which is it's a lemon pound cake with icing on it. So I made a calamansi flavored pandesal and I put glaze on it. And then that took off. And then we started putting glaze on everything. Ube glazed pandesal, strawberry calamansi glazed pandesal. And then the top seller we actually had was we started taking sisig and stuffing them into the pandesal, serving it. And then I was making a calamansi aioli, like dipping sauce. And then that took off. So yeah, we were doing like, I want to say we probably did like 20,000 pieces of pandesal, like out of my home kitchen, just in that span of when the pandemic first like hit, and then for the next like 4 or 5 months. And we started peeling back, and just because I was getting burnt out.
Sure.
But it was crazy that an idea I had just like took off. Social media it's crazy because, you know, I was getting people, you know, from Southern California, from Canada, asking me, hey, do you ship? You know, and yeah, but it was a very fortunate thing for me to be able to do that while I was furloughed, you know. And then, you know, they came calling, and, you know, the pandemic started to, you know, we're on the tail end of everything shutting down. And then my employer called me back, and I dropped everything and I went back to work. And, you know, I regret, you know, not opening a business. But I feel like that it's always going to be there for me. Sure. Because there's not a lot of pandesal baking companies. Or you know, bakeries or whatnot. I'm actually like parked in front of one of our Filipino bakeries here in Sacramento right now.
I know. Well, I was going to say, it sounds like, you know, even if your business is kind of on pause right now as you sort of transition back into like your full-time job, it sounds like there is a hunger for these types of dishes, right? Like there's a lot of excitement about this Filipino dish and probably other Filipino dishes out there. And it's awesome to see the power of social media. So that's awesome. So we do have a question though. The team in San Francisco is wondering what your favorite dish to teach a Filipino cuisine newbie would be.
I think lumpia would probably be the number one thing.
Yeah.
Because it's very approachable. Because, you know, we have our own version. The Chinese have their own version. The Vietnamese, you know, every Asian culture has their own version.
What is lumpia, just real quick before we move on?
It's the Filipino version of an egg roll.
Okay.
So, you know, we flavor it our own way. We put our own spin on it. As you guys know, there's a company out there in Oakland called the Lumpia Company. And, you know, they're doing a lot of cool things with their lumpia. They're actually good friends of mine. But but yeah, I think lumpia is probably the thing that I would teach.
Yeah. What would you say are some of like the spins, like the different flavors that you might find in like a Filipino style lumpia versus like a Chinese style egg roll?
So what's funny is like the pork Shanghai one is like the most popular one, and Shanghai is like a Chinese word. Because, you know, the Philippines is definitely, you know, there's a lot of influence in the Philippines from Chinese cuisine, Indonesian cuisine, Malaysian cuisine. It's like all of that stuff. But one of the variations would be we actually have a fresh lumpia. So it's like a crepe filled with like shrimp and pork and a bunch of vegetables, and then there's a gravy, like a sweet gravy that's poured over the top. So I think that's pretty unique as far as lumpia goes.
That sounds delicious. We definitely need to do like a cooking class next time, and then you can show us how to make all of those things. That sounds great.
I'm gonna actually have to go ask my mom to teach me how to make that.
Okay, so you go ask your mom to teach you how to make it, and then I'm gonna ask you to teach us how to make it, because we definitely want to get on that with the gravy on top. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, Chef Jaydel, we are coming up on time, but I think, you know, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights. It sounds like there's definitely a craving from our guests out there to learn about and try different regional flavors and cuisines. And really, it's up to us as the culinarians operating these spaces to say, hey, I'm going to be bold and brave. And beyond just Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, I'm going to create space on my menu to highlight and celebrate these dishes so that we can continue to educate our teams and continue to educate our guests and keep them excited and wanting more from us. All of your stories from they just resonated so strongly with me from, wanting to go to culinary school, but then growing up in an Asian American first generation family. So, again, we really just thank you, and hi to your daughter in the background. We really just thank you for your time and really appreciate you sharing all of your expertise with us.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right, everyone, it was great to see you. I hope to see you for our next edition of Lead, Grow, Deepen. From both myself and Chef Jaydel, have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Hmm?